Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll add my thanks to the gentleman on the panel. I know you've heard that over and over and over again from members here, but only because folks believe it. And we're grateful to you, not just for being here today, but for your decade upon decade of service. I'll tell you, Mr. Thompson, I'm comforted, and I know folks at U.S. posts across the world are comforted that there are men and women who do what you do, who live by a code that says if you're in harm's way, we're going to come for you. Just hang on. And I thank you very much for that commitment.
Thank you.
Mr. Nordstrom, my questions are followed up on my colleague from Wyoming, thinking back to early July 2012. But do you recall your back and forth with Charlene Lamb particularly?
Vividly.
What did you think of that decision-making process? Were those decisions that Ms. Lamb was making, or were those decisions being kicked up to a higher level?
It was unclear. I think largely Das Lamb. But one thing that struck me throughout the entire time that I was in Libya was a strange decision-making process. Specifically, again, the Undersecretary for Management in many ways was dealing directly with Das Lamb. As her supervisor 2 levels ahead, obviously he has that ability to do that. He's well within his right. But it was strange that was that direct relationship, and I never really saw interaction from Assistant Secretary of DS, Eric Boswell, or our director, Scott Bolchowitz. It was even more clear in October when we were all sitting up here. There was 2 levels, if you will, that were not reflected, and it was quite a jump between Das Lamb and Undersecretary Kennedy. So certainly I felt that anything that Das Lamb was certainly had been run by Undersecretary Kennedy.
And given the seriousness of that conversation, thinking about extending SST and MSD as security support, did you receive an explanation for why that request was denied that satisfied you?
I didn't. As I testified before, what I perceived that it was some sort of explained to me that it would be somehow embarrassing or politically difficult for State Department to continue to rely on DOD, and that there was an element of that. That was never fully verbalized, but that was certainly the feeling that I got going away from those conversations.
And then following up on moving these discussions from back channel to front channel, what was the nature of your conversation with the ambassador that this was such a serious issue that rather than leaving it with a no on back channels, he wanted to elevate that?
That's exactly what it is. In fact, I recall all the way back to our first meeting with Congressman Chaffetz and the chairman. That was the question that I think they posed to me is, well, if you knew she was going to keep saying no, why did you keep asking? Well, because it was the right thing to do, and it was the resources that were needed. And if people also on the other side felt that was the right thing to do, to say no to that, they could at least have the courtesy to put that in the official record.
And did you receive any feedback back from Washington, whether a direct response to that cable or a back channel response to the fact that you elevated it to this front channel process?
By the time that we sent the one in July, no, I did not receive a response. In fact, that cable, as I understand, was never responded to, which is something that is relatively unheard of in the State Department. When you send a request cable for anything, whether it's copiers or resource or manpower, they get back to you. Prior discussions, back channel ones, yes, I had a number of conversations with my regional director and also Das Lamb where it was discouraging, to put it mildly, that why do you keep raising these issues? Why do you keep putting this forward?
And if you can characterize it then between a non-response or a disagreement when it comes to these issues of security for American personnel on the ground in Libya, were you receiving a non-response from Washington, or was there disagreement in Washington with your assessment of levels of need on the ground?
I largely get a non-response. The responses that I did get were, you don't have specific targeting, you don't have specific threats against you. The long and short of it is you're not dealing with suicide bombers, incoming artillery, and vehicle bombs like they are in Iraq and Afghanistan, so basically stop complaining.
Okay. The gentleman's time has expired.
Thank
Is there
you, Mr.
anything
Chairman.
else to answer? Okay, thank you. We now go to the gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Davis.